Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today I've got another special one for you to look at. We have the Array from We Knife Company and NS Edge Works. That is Simon Crafts. Alright, let's get this guy out of here. Comes in a zipper pouch, has a little towel with it. No need for a star screw deal with this one. No, because it is all torque screw, and of course there's a little information card in there as well. Let's get a look at this guy, and I mean, oh my goodness. Simon has hit it out of the park. His Cirrus was great. The Slipstream, really neat knife. This is my favorite Simon Crafts knife. Oh goodness. And here's why. What we get is 4.72 inches. Yes, almost 4 3/4 inches in closed length. Handle thickness of 0.51 and a closed height of 0.85. Yes, less than an inch. Now that does not include the flipper tab, but from here to here, less than an inch at its widest point. This is a gentleman's carry knife with a bit of a medium hard use bend to it, as we'll see as we go along. As we roll it around, we have the flourishes down through here that fit the knife and design real well. Right down through here we have a little bit of texture, and that is a little bit of texture. It's not as deep or sticky as it might look in the video. We've got some actual jimping right here, jimping across the top of the blade, rolling it around the backside. We have a titanium backspacer and a lanyard hole. Very nice there. Now that's not really big enough to put 550 through unless you got the 550. You might be able to stuff it through there, but still, for this size knife, works out really well. We have our backside of our wee pivot with our collar and nice T8 torque screw, and our lock bar insert goes in from the inside on this knife. Very, very nice. Our tip-up right-hand only pocket clip is plenty deep enough. I've had this in all sorts of jeans, and I've carried it for a couple of weeks, and it is just a really great pocket clip. Does a really good job, especially for that intended office carry purpose. It sits in there extremely well. And jimping back here, this jimping is what I would call mid-grade jimping, slightly more aggressive than we normally see from We, but not... It doesn't bother me. Other people have handled the knife and they have said that it was a little sharp, but I don't find it to be sharp. But you gotta think about my hands and what my hands do. Making knives and doing other things out in the shop, my hands are a little rougher than maybe yours, so it might get you where it doesn't get me. Alright, so let's get this thing open and get a little bit of size comparison out of the way. We have, of course, our Buck 110 and our Rat Model 1. It's a little bigger in blade than Rat Model 1, slightly smaller than our Buck 110, and lighter than both of them. It only weighs, get this, 3.36 ounces. So as far as weight goes, it's closer down to this class of knife. So they have done a beautiful job with this knife. And we'll get the other one out and see if we can see down in there. And yeah, you can see down in there just a little bit. They have milled out everything that they can mill out. If you look at the What's Inside video, you'll get a better look at that. And wow, it is just a beautiful little knife. And I know, I'm saying beautiful and awesome and all these things, but it's hard. This, I need to do a first look video on this knife, and it is just... oh, it hit me in the right spot. That's all we can say. So let's get a look at the blade. And our blade is a piece of S35VN. We do have that zero grind. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And this one happens to be a black coated blade with our hand rub finish. We have a black coated swedge. All the corners are broken like on every We knife. And we have a pretty good size forward finger choil that we'll talk about in ergonomics. And we have our blade steel indicator right there, S35VN, and it's just a beautifully thin little blade. Now, it does have that kind of wedge-like grind because of the height of the blade. The blade is only, we'll get the calipers out here, the blade is only 3/4 of an inch. So what is our behind? Okay, so right behind that zero grind, we're 0.027. So it's not going to be a super slicer, but I have used the knife for the past couple of weeks. Or actually not that one, I've used this one, and it cuts extremely well. I've not had a reason to be upset with the cutting performance of the knife. And we'll get a look at that stone wash. You guys know that I love Wee's stone wash. That is just a beautiful stone wash. And the zero grind, let's talk about that for just a moment. Many of you out there ask, how do I sharpen a zero grind? Well, you don't actually sharpen the zero grind. I know one individual who has attempted to sharpen a zero grind, and I have that knife back here somewhere. He did a beautiful job, mirrored it up, and whew, it is beautiful. However, he spent a lot of time working on that because this zero grind is actually put in with a large wheel, and that large wheel means that this is not completely flat right here. It is a bit of a hollow down there on that zero grind looking area, and because of that, trying to do it even with a fixed angle sharpener is a lot of work. So the way I sharpen one of these is depending on the knife, and I haven't sharpened this one yet, so I don't know, but I will get my marker out, I will check what the angle is back here and find that angle, and then I'll go a couple of degrees past that angle. So if it's 18 degrees, I'll go to 20. If it's 20, I may go to 21 or 21.5 degrees, and I'll just put a micro bevel on it. That way I'm not messing with that zero grind. And being S35VN, you'll have a good sharp knife for a good long time. And from here, we'll go to our pause and read card, and I'll be right back with you. Let's talk about the mechanical bits of this knife. We are, of course, running on Wee's ball bearing system, ceramic ball bearing, ceramic detent, lock bar insert, hardened steel washers behind those bearings, and nice thick hardened steel washers behind the bearings. And everything works just like any other Wee knife, unbelievably well. The detent on this knife is set up beautifully on both of them. It's one of those knives that is nearly impossible to do that partial flip with. I'm going to try to flip it really slow. Nope, broke the detent and off it went. The detent is set well. It's not a really hard detent, but it's set to where you can't shake the knife out under normal circumstances. I'm sure if I stood here and I went like that really hard, I could, because, well, I've been able to shake out dang near every knife except for the Riot Torrent, I believe, right out of the factory. And the Torrent had so much lock bar tension on it that it was nuts. I had to reset that. Anyhow, moving along here, the one difference we have, and this is something we is starting to do and other companies are starting to do, our stop pin is right there in the blade. Runs in a track in the titanium and has a stop in the titanium. Now, people are going to be like, oh my God, titanium soft. Well, titanium is really tough stuff. I have been carrying around this Slipstream, this prototype, for months, and it has the same system. A little harder to see being an all-black knife, but it's there if you look close enough. And I have had no problems with lockup, no problems with anything, and I've carried that knife off and on since Blade Show last year. So I don't foresee any problems with the titanium. The knives are, in my opinion, great. We've got great hardware. We'll look at that real quick. There's our Weehaw. And I think I've said this before, but these screws are so tight and probably broached that, see there, it pulled the freaking bit out of the tool. These screws whenever you go to pull the driver out, they don't want to come out. They kind of snap out. And like you saw there, it pulled the bit right out of the driver. It's got a big magnet in there. So the screws and the hardware, I'm really glad that we took the time to set up their machinery to make those screws in-house, because they are, for torque screws, they are the best I've seen. The only thing that has come close is some of the Riot torque screws, and they're very good, but I've had another issue with Riot that kind of soured me. Not saying that they're bad, it's just one particular knife had some issues, so I'm going to have to see some more Riot stuff before I give them a seal of approval. Now, I've seen, of course, plenty of stuff, and their torque screws are absolutely awesome. Now, let's get into ergonomics on these knives. Now, whenever you get your hand around it like this, you have plenty of purchase here, plenty of purchase down the blade to get yourself stretched out if you want to. You've got plenty right here to keep you from running your hand up on the blade if you need to shred that cardboard on the way home. And for those of you that may not know, sometimes you have that big nasty box come out of the alley on your way home, and you have to shred some cardboard to make it safely home. Well, this knife is set up for you to do that. Whenever you grab it like this, you have plenty of stop here to keep you from running your hand up on that blade. Now, if you grab it like this, of course, well, you're not in such great shape. But let's go from here first. Pocket clip, I notice it, but it's not a hot spot. Getting it like this, it's a thin knife, so this is not ideal, but it's going to work out pretty okay. Your pinch grips, very good. Your reverse grip, it's a long knife again, but it works. You can get your thumb capped over the end of it, and you've got a lot of knife out there. Now, you're choking up. Choking up, you can get way down here on the blade, and you can get some really delicate stuff done. And that forward finger choil is pretty reasonably sized. You see, I'm not quite hitting it with my finger. But, if you've got big hands, you may want to be careful with that. But that's just like on any knife, whether it's a Hinderer or Wee or whatever. You want to be careful with those choils that are built like that. And overall, ergonomically, it's just a thin knife with a very simple design that holds you in right here with a nice rounded area instead of a point. And we've talked about that many times. We've got a little jimping right here to help you disengage the lock. And wow, guys, let's get it in the pocket and finish this whole review up, because this is another one that I could talk about all day. Maybe I should do a live video and just talk about it for an hour. You guys want that? Yeah, you get it down in the pocket, you've got your lanyard hole just barely sticking up, and everything else is pretty well down in the pocket. Really lending this thing well for what I believe Simon's intended use was. Maybe Simon will weigh in and tell us what he thinks, but I believe this is kind of that medium heavy use office carry knife. Got a very smart looking clip with nothing but Wee right there, and I have had this clip in several different types of pants and no issues. 511s, various different types of Carhartt and Riggs workwear, no issues. So pocket clip is definitely an A+, even though it is only tip up right hand. Sorry lefties, and sorry me, because sometimes I would like to carry a knife like this in my left hand. And while we got it up here close, let's get another look at it. And yeah, I know, I'm overdoing you guys with the looks at it, but this knife just really touched me. Like the Zephyr, this is just this thing where Wee is closing out the year with absolutely beautiful designs. Let's look at the detent. Told you it was a good detent. Well, here we go. There you go. Sucks that guy right in there, fires it right out. Now, to gather this up in a big ball of wax, the Wee and Simon Crafts array, to me, is that gentleman's carry knife that is just nearly perfect. Now, if I were to make any changes to this, instead of using 4mm stock or .158 stock, I would use .125 stock. Thin the knife up just a little bit. Is it necessary? No, but it would, in keeping all of the flare of the blade, you could still keep a very thin edge, and it would lend itself better to your slicing stuff that you may be doing in the office area. However, with that bit of a hollow on the zero grind, it's still very good. And I'm going to carry the knife whenever these things are back from making their rounds, because, wow. They're just beautiful. And you can see there the action on them. And those two knives are brand new. They are just beautiful. I don't know if I gave you a close look at this one. Maybe I did. We'll go one more time through both of them, and I'll get the blades out and let you guys know that these are just beautiful knives. We is ending the year, or the model year, I guess we should say, on a very, very high note with this knife and with the Zephyr. And of course with the Eschaton. The Eschaton should be arriving here in the next few days, and I will hopefully have, at the very least, the carbon fiber model to give you guys a look at, and possibly even the all TI model. But there you go. That is the WE Array. Final salvo for the year for WE Knife Company. And in my opinion, this erases any misses they may have had throughout the rest of the year. Excellent knife. You guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I will see you next time.